Morning everyone, Friday the 12th, Jer here with the news. Weekend fast approaching and another game to get excited for. Today's news video is going to be done in two parts. So the start of this video is going to be the normal news, and the second half of this video today is going to be a match review to go over Jesse's press conference. So if you're not interested in that part, I'll let you know when the news is finished. You don't have to stick around for a whole lot if you don't want to. Your call. We'll get cracking on with it then. So to start off with, a couple of things that have come out this morning from Phil Hayes' podcast over in The Athletic, and deals not happening. Ismail Assar, Joe Pedro and Juan Mata, according to Phil Hay, after contacting Leeds and his sources within the club, have said that there is no truth in these three players. They are not happening. In relation to Juan Mata, Phil said that it is not a known fact that Juan Mata's father and Victor Orta know each other quite well, and it wouldn't be unusual for them to have conversations about other players as well as just Juan, and that there's no deal on the table there at all. In terms of João Pedro, it said that it looks like they're trying to move on some players at Watford and generate their own interest in these players by putting this information out there. Leeds have not put a bid in for Sarr or Pedro, and according to Phil Hay, there is no truth in us being linked with them, so you can roll that rumour in a ball and toss it in the bin. In terms of incomings, there's some news. A lot of this is rumour, so I'll just give it to you and tell you where it's come from. You can decide what you want. Kai Wagner, left back from Philadelphia Union, that was linked yesterday with Leeds. According to the club manager, Jim Curtin, who said, and I quote, "First official offers have come in. We will decide what's best for the club, including myself and Kai." He also then went on to say that he doesn't want Kai to leave the club, as he believes Philadelphia Union can do something this year and win something. So that's an interesting one. He didn't say which clubs have put in offers, so hold the panic or excitement on that one. The interesting thing here is I'm not a fan of us dipping into the MLS market because it's not comparable to the Premier League. However, in this situation, bringing a player in at this point from the MLS is possibly a good idea because they're halfway through their season, so you don't need to get a player up to speed and game ready. They're already game ready, so they can come in and pretty much play straight away. The rumoured price being linked is somewhere between 2.5 million to 4 million, so we wait and see what happens there. Entering territory of absolute, probably not a real thing at all. 90 minutes, so take that with a huge pinch of salt. Are reporting this morning that Benfica striker Goncalo Ramos has been linked with Leeds. The 21-year-old Portuguese striker has scored 17 times for Benfica and is rated at in and around 30 million. The usual clubs also linked with him as well, Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. So sometimes I think Leeds' names just thrown in there to try and jack up the price a little bit because clubs know that we've thrown a lot of money around at the likes of the CDK, but it's an interesting one there, and we'll get to the striker stuff in the Matchday preview stuff coming up later on. Also, coming from Leeds Live, the clickbaitiest of clickbait websites, Jose Cifuentes linked again this morning from them. They're saying a bid of 5 million has already gone in. Believe that if you want it. He played 23 times this season, scored 6 goals and 5 assists. Described as a box-to-box midfielder. Napoli, Leicester and Brighton and Hove Albion are all said to be interested in that player as well. But as I said, it does come from Leeds Live, and it's, take what you want out of that. So that's pretty much it for the news section of today's video. I'm going to move on to the matchday stuff. So if you are not interested in that, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. We went over 1,500 subscribers yesterday, which is crazy, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. And we'll move on to the news now. In Leeds matchday news from Jesse Marsh's press conference yesterday, players returning to the squad to strengthen the bench by the looks of things. Dan James' suspension is now over, so Dan James will rejoin. According to Jesse Marsh's press conference yesterday, he's looking at using James as an impact player from the bench for this game. He said he will obviously use him as a starter at times as well, but on the back of a win, hard to change your team. But that's a really strong option off the bench in terms of how we play. Liam Cooper is also returning to fitness and is available for the weekend. He has no preseason behind him. That's an interesting one, but it's great to have Cooper back in the squad. Adam Forshaw is available for this weekend as well. A small injury with him on the back end of preseason delayed him. And Lewis Dare is available as well, where Jesse Marsh described him as looking fantastic and exciting this week. Also, some news around the goalkeeping situation. So, Jesse Marsh clarified the Joel Robles situation, saying that he's come in initially as an additional keeper, but that Christoph Klaassen is still the number 2 keeper at Leeds. However, Robles is being brought in to provide competition for the 2 goalkeepers that we have. He has an experienced role there, and he has come in for the right reasons, and it's explained that he is there trying to add experience and help the two keepers get better. But that if Christoph Klaassen wants to hang on to his number 2 shirt as Leeds backup keeper, he's going to have to fight for it. This is a great bit of competition to have for each position, so it's great to see it there. If only we got the same amount of competition for left back, that would be great, wouldn't it? In terms of the striking options, he was asked about transfers and new strikers. He kind of didn't really go into it that much, but what he has said is that we have options from striker already in terms of Rodrigo, Gelhardt, Dan James at times, Mateo, Joseph and Sonny Perkins as well. He did say, though, that they are evaluating their transfer offers. Obviously, Leeds were going to put a lot of money into CDK, as Radrizzani described him as a special player. But what's interesting now is that they look to be kind of just biding their time, or as Phil Hay said, keeping their powder dry and having a look at what's out there and assessing it. They've said that they don't want to bring in a striker that prevents the younger players coming through. They don't want somebody to stop Joe Gelhardt's development and him getting minutes. We talked about this on the American Leeds podcast yesterday evening about progression of players. So it kind of looks like they're possibly looking to bring in either an older striker who can, come off the bench and do a job, or an even younger striker, again, that's in around the 20-year-old mark, who can complement Gelhardt and maybe grow with him and then look into the future of maybe a strike partner of Gelhardt and this person, whoever that might be. So it's interesting right now. If everyone stays fit and with the amount of options we've got and knowing that Jesse Marsch uses young players, I'm okay with us not necessarily dipping in and buying a striker right now. I think the next 2 games before the window closes are going to be interesting. I think Leeds will keep a strong eye on that as well. They did say, that they're sort of constantly evaluating transfers and they're looking at what's out there. So there's still time. There's still 2 weeks left. We've signed 8 players. So we can chill out a little bit. In terms of the heat that's predicted for the weekend and how Leeds plan to cope with it, Jesse said that when he was in the MLS, there was a lot of people said that, in New York, summers are quite hot and quite humid, that his style of play wouldn't suit it. And what's interesting in this is that he said, if you look at the stats from how they managed the heat in New York, it was the opposite. They were very successful in what they did over there. So he's going to use an awful lot what he's learned from that time and implement that with Leeds at the weekend. His bench and how he uses the bench is going to be very interesting. There's this piece around, I guess, going around with coaches and managers now about not starting with your strongest team, but finishing with your strongest team. So maybe holding a couple players back, managing the game for the first 60 minutes and then impact subs, bring them on and go and win the game when other teams are getting tired. Southampton at the weekend only used 2 of their bench. Leeds used 4 of their bench. And Marsch will use this bench for impact. I mean, looking at it already, Sinisterra is going to be on the bench, Forshaw's going to be on the bench, Dan James is going to be on the bench. Adding to what we already have, it's going to be really, really interesting. So we'll see what goes there. In terms of other injuries, Firpo and Ailing are still out. They're still a couple of weeks away and should be due back pretty soon. From a Southampton perspective, reports in the Daily Mail saying that Ralph Hasenhüttl has lost half of the dressing room and that the players were surprised that he wasn't sacked at the end of last season. With 10 defeats in his last 13 games and looking at how Spurs took them apart at the weekend, it'll be interesting to see. Leeds have a lot of similarities in the goals that we scored at the weekend and the goals that Southampton conceded at the weekend. So that's going to be interesting. So we'll see how it goes. At the moment, I'm pretty confident about the weekend. I think we'll get a win. So we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'll stick some news up in the community tab around predictions and that. Let me know over there. If you don't know about the community tab, it's been there about a week since we went over the 1,500 subscriber mark. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And that's it. That is your news and your match day preview. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.